There is a huge variety of numeric formatting options in Excel. In this worksheet called Numeric, the data in columns J through to Q do have numeric entries with formats applied, like $signs and commas. But the data in column F and G isn't formatted. You'll find the two most common buttons used for formatting on the Home tab in the number group. In column F, if we know nothing else is going into this, so we can click the whole column and apply a format there. It won't disrupt any text entries, as in cell F1, and we could even apply a $sign. The $sign means accounting number format. The word salary is already present, therefore it may not be necessary for the $sign to be visible. If you've already used other buttons in Excel, you might be wondering why not use the $signs to get rid of these. This, however, isn't a toggle button. If you don't see the $signs, but you do want to see the commas, the other option here is a comma button. This is almost the same, but it doesn't show the $sign. So whenever you're working with financial data, if you don't want to see the $signs in every single cell, you can use the comma sign. The yearly salaries don't have any pennies in them, so is it necessary to see the pennies displayed? The two buttons on the right that increase or decrease decimals should be considered. Here we can decrease the decimals. It looks better, and we don't need to see the pennies being displayed. This button shouldn't be mistaken for changing the result. If pennies were there, we wouldn't really be rounding the numbers, we'd just be displaying visual rounding. The data in column G also represents financial data, but there are negatives there. So let's see what happens if we use $signs and how these negatives would be displayed. They'd be displayed in parentheses. That's the standard accounting format. There's spacing on the right to allow for the parenthesis when needed. In other cases, there's half space for the decimals to line up. You may choose this option, or maybe the comma if it's implied that these are dollars. There are other formats to consider which are behind the scenes. You could just click the dialog box launcher on the number group, which activates the Format Cells dialog box. At the moment, we're using accounting format. There's a format called number, and this gives some different options for displaying negatives. If you want these negatives to stand out, then you can have them displayed in red. We can get back into the dialog box with this button here. There's also a currency in accounting which are similar. You've also got more control with what happens with the negatives here. Now if we choose currency here, you will see $signs. And if I make the column wider, the $signs stay with the data. Now if we choose the $sign here, which really means accounting format, the $sign's on the left hand side and we see the data in currencies. This is to show you that there are different formats, and sometimes when we get data from other sources, that data might be used in accounting format or currency format. When we click this button, you need to decide which is the best option for you. I feel it's best to work with the $sign and comma as much as possible, because then you don't need to keep going back behind the scenes, which becomes time consuming. So keep note that there are different ways to display numerical data, financial data, with or without $signs. Column B on this worksheet has social security numbers on it. These are not typed with hyphens, because this would involve more typing. A nice feature in Excel is that if you select these cells and go to the Format Cells dialog box, just by clicking this button here or there, or just right-clicking in the column here and choosing Format Cells, and in the Format Cells dialog box, there's a category called Special. Here we see the hyphens being displayed. These aren't actually in the content. If you click one of the cells and look in the formula bar, you don't see the hyphens. If you're editing these, you don't type the hyphens, they will appear automatically. So what usually happens is that the format is applied before the data goes in. You could do it later like I did. The same thing with phone numbers. You don't need to type extra characters if you don't need to. You can format these cells. This will work smoothly if you do this before inputting the data, but you can do it after as well. So I'll right-click column C, choose Format Cells, and in the Format Cell dialog box and in the Number tab, there's a special format for phone numbers. Click OK and we see the entries being displayed this way. This is a standard way to display phone numbers. If you are editing one of these and you double-click here, you won't see the parenthesis, the space or the hyphen. You just make a few changes here and there, and enter, and the symbols appear. So Excel has various options built in automatically, and to control the formatting of special kinds of numbers like phone numbers and social security numbers, and also entries for dollar type entries and salary account balances. We also see similar displays in the right hand columns. We want to be able to access these features quickly and easily, so use these buttons available in the number group on the Home tab of the ribbon as much as possible.